Hello everyone and welcome to another recap race analysis here of Milan San Remo 2024, and what a race that was. And as always, to dissect the race is none other than Patrick Blake about who's cycling. And I mean, Patrick, what exactly happened in the race?
Yes, San Remo today, 288 kilometers, first monument of the season. We saw a big getaway with 10 riders, including Bardiani. There was a few from Podium. These ended up getting quite far into the race, but didn't play like a massive influence. But it's worthwhile mentioning that it was a pretty decently sized break today. One of the more noticeable things is that Christophe Laporte was, I'm not sure if he was caught behind a crash on I think it was Capo Chiavo. I think there was a crash and he was behind it, but he was dropped very early, Christophe Laporte, who that was a big surprise considering that he was a big favourite for a lot of people to finish on the podium, if not win today. But I think the most important thing is that the Cipressa and UAE were surprisingly ominous from all of the Cipressa for the first kilometre or so. Eventually you see Covey get to the front and start setting a pace. You then see kind of the troops arrive with Ulissi, with Del Toro and Wellens, and they start to really put the pace on. And it was very reminiscent of 2022, where they really whittled this group down a lot. There was talk of going kind of sub 9 minutes. That wasn't the case. It was like a 9-minute 30 ascent. But we did see lots of riders going, out the back, lots of the sprinters you expected. But yeah, kind of Milan looked like he was working for Pedersen, so that was a clear sign that Milan wasn't going to be doing something today. But over the top, it looked like we still had quite a lot of the favourites. We get off of the descent of that. The breakaway tried once again, one Podium rider, I think it was Davide Bais, tried to go again towards the bottom of the Poggio, getting some very good value TV time. But going into the base of the Poggio again, UAE were quite ominous, and they're kind of they were missing seemingly. They didn't seem to have that many riders. Alpecin again weren't really leading out. Again, it was kind of Lidl Trek who were leading out for Pedersen. Then Ineos took over, the Ineos Grenadiers, with Navarez was there, Kwiatkowski was there, Ghana was there, who was looking really good. And obviously I think they were working for Tom Pidcock, but then kind of very slowly Wellens and Pogačar were the only two UAE riders. They had to really time their attack correctly. And it looked like Wellens was really tightening up. And I think it was quite late, with probably somewhere between 1.5 to 1 kilometre left of the Poggio. Pogačar attacks. Van der Poel gets on the wheel. Ghana gets on the wheel of him. Bettiol's there as well. Absolutely fantastic legs. And Pedersen was ever so slightly gapped. However, it kind of, the attack stopped. The group reformed. Mohoric came back. Pedersen came back. Stuyven came back, and nobody really tried to launch a counter-attack. I think Matthews did, but he was kind of shut off by Van der Poel. But in the final 500 metres, Pogačar launches a devastating attack, where Van der Poel is very boxed in at this point, and Pogačar managed to find a gap up the right-hand side and launches it with 500 metres to go. Van der Poel has to expend a lot of energy out in the wind to try and close that gap down. But onto the descent of the Poggio, Pogačar, not being the greatest descender, definitely didn't help him today. You could see how easy it was for Van der Poel to close up those 10 metres, and subsequently Pidcock, who ended up bridging the gap to those two, making it a group of 3. However, the group never really got away. Pogačar was continuously working on the front. Van der Poel was marking him out, and then it became very apparent once we got off the bottom of the Poggio and the group was all still together that Jasper Philipsen was still in this group. Sobrero launches an attack, Mohoric launches an attack, but then Van der Poel starts working on the front, and you look back and you see Philipsen in the wheels, and you're like, oh my word, nobody is getting away, because Van der Poel is working on the front for Philipsen. But Mohoric gets brought back. Sobrero launches a counter-attack. Pidcock follows him, and it's with about 500 metres to go. Pidcock launches it really early. It's his last-ditch attempt. Van der Poel's still on the front, trying to bring back Pidcock. Then Stuyven launches out of the wheel with Pedersen on his wheel. However, then they go on the right-hand side of the road. Philipsen and Michael Matthews ping it on the left-hand side of the road with Pogačar in their wheel. That was obviously the better side of the road to be on. Pidcock gets swamped up. And then you got Philipsen versus Matthews with Pogačar in the wheel. Philipsen versus Matthews. And just about Jasper Philipsen takes it ahead of Michael Matthews and Tadej Pogacar in third place. It was just incredible. It was so close. Michael Matthews lost his glasses in the last 20 metres or so. They fell to the floor. He didn't need that extra weight in that final lunge to the line. Incredible performance from him, honestly. That was a real good performance. But the top 10 of today was that Jasper Philipsen takes his first ever monument ahead of Michael Matthews. Tadej Pogacar finishes in third place, Pedersen in fourth, then Mathieu, Mohoric, Maxime Van Hils, Jasper Stuyven, Julian Alaphilippe in ninth, Mathieu van der Poel in 10th. I have been rambling on for so long, Scott. That was really exciting. Where do you want to start?
I mean, you were very excited about the race beforehand, so it's fair enough. I think the fact that they now have 2 Milan San Remo riders within their roster is pretty remarkable, and they're 2 biggest stars as well. So I think they played incredible. I was like, Macho, come on, go. What are you doing? Why are you not doing anything? And then you're like, oh, okay. You realize afterwards, it's like they were riding for Jasper Philipsen. They weren't even riding for Mathieu van der Poel. We'd kind of like discounted Jasper Philipsen a bit after that Tirreno Adriatico crash. But whatever we think of Mats Pedersen and Tadej Pogacar, that they maybe lost the race or they should have done better, both of them still got the best result that they've had so far. Mats Pedersen finishing fourth, best result so far. Tadej Pogacar getting on another monument podium as well. But in terms of Jasper Philipsen, we should probably focus on him. What a remarkable rider. We know that he wants to win Paris-Roubaix this year, and came on the podium last year. And then, yeah, in this era of Milan San Remo, to be the fastest sprinter and to win, that is incredible.
This is a different edition of San Remo than we've been used to. I mean, we haven't seen a finish like this where it was, let's face it was a fairly large group by our kind of last few years standards. We're quite used to a solo or a kind of sprint amongst just a couple of people. The fact that Philipsen was able to hang in there and just still managed to win it at the end of the day. I really thought Pedersen was going to come out of the wheel and do good. He's really good at the end of like a long day, but Philipsen was just incredible. Like I say, Alpecin having 2 big riders here. I really thought it was going to be Van der Poel. I thought a move was going to go away. But yeah, Philipsen just playing the patient game, fastest sprinter in the world. You know, this is the sort of thing where when people compare him to Merlier, this is the sort of thing Merlier would not be able to do. Philipsen is really well-rounded. Going into the Cobble Classics season as well, you know, he's going to be an absolute force to be reckoned with alongside Van der Poel. A really good duo to have. And I think that, yeah, honestly, it's kind of surprising that maybe we weren't giving him enough credit going into this. I think that, you know, maybe we're all a little bit shell-shocked, I think. It definitely tore up the rule book today. I don't think anybody really expected a finish like this with this many riders, for sure.
Pidcock and Mohoric, they were doing their best to kind of throw a spanner in the works. And Michael Matthews, I was like thinking, yeah, we didn't really talk about Michael Matthews, but like there's so many riders, when you put the attributes on the table, this fits them perfectly. And Michael Matthews certainly is one of them. Great sprinter in his own right, and one of these more hardier sprinters. So if you get rid of the pure sprinters, he's probably winning. And he has a great record in the Amstel Gold, etc., that kind of race. So it fits him perfectly. But alas, another Australian Jaco Ayula guy finishing second in this race. But in terms of Tadej Pogacar, we were debating that in the preview and on the echelon and everything. How does Tadej Pogacar actually win this race? Because I thought he went too late on the Poggio, yeah. We were all kind of like, why are you not going? Why are you not going? And then kind of went and then tried again over the top. But yeah,
I don't think UAE did the best job today, to be honest with you. I think they weren't well positioned going into the Cipressa, which meant that their guys were using up energy just moving up to Pogacar. I think that was a big mistake, and that meant that only really Wellens had anything left. Like, he was the only guy who could do anything for Pogacar on the Poggio, and you could tell there was definitely a point where Wellens was done and he needed somebody else there. Like, you almost needed Del Toro there at the start and then handing over to Wellens to keep that pace high, because it came back. Like, people came back once Wellens started running out of gas. I think that Pogacar's attack in the final 500 meters of the Poggio was really smart. I honestly thought that could have been the move. And that, you know, if Van der Poel wasn't on a good day, I don't think he's closing that. And then I think that kind of Group 2 dynamics could definitely come in. So I think that was almost the winning move. But I think that even if Pogačar did get away solo there, I think that there is an obvious, perhaps Achilles heel to Pogačar, which is that he's not the fastest descender. I think that that was pretty evident today, how somebody like Pidcock and Mohoric, and quite frankly, almost everybody behind seemed to be a little bit faster than him, a little bit more confident. And I get that there's lots of other goals in the season for Pogačar to be going for, but it's definitely not his strongest thing. And I think that if he is to go solo in this race and win it in the future, like you asked, I think his descending will need to get a little bit better.
I love how you say his descending isn't very good, and then you compare it to like Pidcock, Mohoric, Mathieu, like three of the best guys to ever descend a bike. But I mean, Lidl-Trek, I think we should talk about that a bit more, because Mads Pedersen, they were very bullish about winning with Mads Pedersen at the beginning. A bit arrogant, I would say. He said this is the best Mads Pedersen, and he's right, because he finished fourth, and the two other times he finished sixth. So, but yeah, there was a lot of expectations for Mads Pedersen winning this race. I wasn't quite comfortable at him winning it, but like top five, I was like, yeah, pretty sure that he's going to improve on his result. Could they have done anything else to win this race? Get rid of the Jasper Philipsen, obviously, like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, even if they did get rid of Philipsen, in theory, he would have only come third. Like, he was beaten by Pogačar today. He just seemed like, I think Pedersen must have expended some energy on the Poggio, but he didn't want to. I think that he was closing gaps up on that Poggio, which he really didn't need to be doing. Ideally, I think Stuyven would have been in front of him closing those gaps, but it's hard to say that in a perfect world, that's what would have happened, or he wouldn't have been dropped, and he was having to close up moves. I think that was probably the issue, is that he was in a good position. He had he basically had Van der Poel leading him out, followed by Jasper Stuyven, and it just didn't work for some reason. I think he just ran out of legs, and I think that's evident by the fact that Pogačar beat him in the sprint. That's obviously Pedersen a bit on his knees, a bit knackered. So that's probably what I think happened. Is it unrealistic to say that maybe they should have tried to do more for Milan rather than making him work on the front? It's possible. I think, is it possible to expect that Milan could have been there? I think so. When you consider the people who are there, I think it's not unrealistic to expect that Milan, if he was protected a bit more, might have got over that climb. But you don't know what was going on in the team bus. You don't know how Milan woke up feeling this morning. Maybe he was like, no, today's not the day. But I think that maybe Milan might have been a better choice.
Yeah, maybe. I want to focus on Mathieu van der Poel, because I think quite a selfless act. Okay, well, we've seen what Bernard obviously let Laporte win as well, but he's the world champion. There was these three achievements that if Mathieu van der Poel won, he would have gained. First rider to win as a world champion since 1983. First rider to win back-to-back editions. And I can't remember what the other one was. First rider to win with 0 race days beforehand. So that was all on the table, but just, yeah, I mean, riding for Jasper Philipsen as well is a great result. He doesn't need a Milan San Remo to make Tadej Pogacar, to make Van der Poel bigger. Jasper Philipsen, suddenly he's a monument winner. He wasn't this morning.
Do you think that Van der Poel knew that Philipsen was always kind of there or thereabouts in the Poggio? Do you think he was playing a defensive race and he was just always going to sit on Tadej? Or do you think...
I think yes.
It was going to work?
I think yes. They must know it in the radio, don't you think?
Yeah. I don't know. It depends. How much do you hear that when just like the heat of charging up the Poggio? I like to think that maybe Van der Poel, just knew that Philipsen was there and that they backed him in to win a sprint, and maybe he was just like, I'm just going to mark the moves, keep everything together. And then, it was so good to see, like you said, the fact that he was working on the front of a world champion selflessly for his teammate, who then gets his first monument victory. I think that was a really good like hero move, really kind of a people's champion. Good to see that Van der Poel, not just like doing a selfish thing, going away with Tadej and just sprinting it for himself, but working for a teammate. I really like to see that.
So here we are, Milan San Remo recap, and we've turned it into a Mathieu appreciation video. But anyways, that's basically it for this recap race analysis of Milan San Remo, the first monument of the season. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you thought of this edition. This has been many people's favorite edition of the last few years. And if you haven't already, check out Patrick's own channel, Outdo Cycling, and the Echelon Cycling podcast to see more of him. But with that, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.